event. My name is Anamari Fanthorpe, and I'll be your host today. Today, I have Sammy Mellor here from Event Elves, and she's an expert on Zoom. And we're going to be talking about getting the best out of your Zoom account. So there's lots of features that we probably don't use, or we probably don't use it to its full potential. And it's a great platform that actually we're on right now. So, we use it here at Digital Boost. And so we know a lot of you folks use it in your businesses as well. So we know you'll get some value out of this session. Now, just a little reminder that you can use the chat function, the Q&A function throughout this session to communicate with us. And if you're on our social media channels, feel free to drop any questions you have for Sammy in the comment section or the chat feature, whatever it is on that channel. So we've got YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook that we stream from on Tuesdays. So if there's a preferred platform for you, check it out. Now, thanks again, Sammy, for joining us here on Digital Boost. This is your first time here on Digital Boost.
Correct, it is. Yeah, I'm very excited. I really love the Digital Boost platform. I think it's an incredible initiative. I always love seeing our government coming out with such beautiful things like this. I think it's really a testament to how hard we work and how hard we try and connect with our people and help them out. So yeah, I'm very happy to be involved. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. We'll pay you for that comment later. I'll drop you a little PayPal for that plug. Thank you so much. No, we do really think that what we're doing here in Digital Boost is a bit unique. And I think that it's just a great kind of little bit of heart. It's the heart that we have here in Aotearoa to help take care of each other and help lift each other up. And I just love being a part of this initiative as well. Now, I want to kick off and just go and get those other chats open so that they can get into the communicating with us, and I'll let you kick off and get your content started. So thanks, guys. I'll hang around to make sure everything runs, but I'll be in the background.
Lovely. Thank you very much. All righty. Let's get going. I'll just share the right thing here. Perfect. All righty. So here we go. So welcome, everyone. Thank you guys so much for jumping in today. My name is Sammy Mellor. I love doing these things, webinars and talking about Zoom. My favorite thing that I get to do. And I feel very honored to represent a product like Zoom and work with Zoom. And yeah, really, really happy to be here with you today on Zoom as well. So I guess just a little bit about me. So my name's Sammy. I am in Auckland. I've lived in New Zealand my whole life and I adore it. I think we've just got the best country in the whole wide world. And yes, I've been working with Zoom for about 5 years now. So at the moment, I've been running my business for about 5 months. But before that, I was with ConnectNZ, which is the Zoom first partner, and I was the Zoom product manager. So I've kind of lived and breathed Zoom for, the best part of 6 years. And this is not my only Zoom shirt. I think I have more Zoom shirts than I do general Civ clothes at this point. So I worked with Connect for a long time, and then I decided to open my own business. So my business effectively has 2 branches. Hi, Danya. Hi. I love seeing you guys in the chat. So my business effectively has 2 branches. The one branch being virtual events. So we do a lot of facilitation work. So people that want to run webinars, they want to do things on Zoom events, or they just might want to run meetings, but have a little bit more of that fancy, smooth professionalism to it. So we help and effectively white glove experience the virtual events for our customers. Hi, Judy. And then we also do specialize in Zoom deployment consultation. So this could be anywhere from just talking to you about your licensing to actually deploying your licenses, training your staff, creating the guides for you, working out your integrations, so on and so forth. So anything to do with Zoom is, as I said, what I love and what we do as a business. And I feel very lucky to work with this product and to be running my own business doing so. So thank you guys for coming along the journey with me. And just another little personal note. I love hiking. I love the outdoors. We live in such a beautiful country. How could I not? So I have only a few slides for you today. So I've got about 10 slides. But mainly I want this to be about you guys. Zoom is such a specific tool for people. Every single user and every single organization uses it in a different way. So it's really important that if you guys have any questions or you have anything that is going to be slightly different for you, please just pop it in the chat, pop it in the Q&A. I want this to be as helpful for you guys as possible, not just me talking to you. So please engage, please request anything you like, please ask as many questions as you like. And yeah, I'm just really happy to help in any way I can. So moving on. The first thing that I will just go over quite briefly, because this is kind of your basic stuff, but I just want to make sure that you guys do understand, is understanding the Zoom license structure. So what we've got on the left-hand side here is the Zoom product wheel. So this is the entirety of the Zoom products. So a lot of people are actually unaware of the other things that Zoom offers. Zoom is effectively a one-stop shop with all of your things collaboration. So they've obviously got their meetings, their webinars, which we're on now. They've got Zoom Phone, which is a voice over IP solution. So if you are interested in any kind of your phone solutions, Zoom Phone is a very easy, very cost-effective way to handle your business phone communications. But then there's things like your Zoom events, and your meeting rooms as well. So if you have any meeting rooms in your offices and you'd like them to be Zoom powered, Zoom Rooms is the meeting room technology that's powered by Zoom. Incredibly easy to use, very flexible from a hardware perspective. And so that's not something I'm going to go over today, the room scenario, but it's important to understand kind of the width of what Zoom offers. Not a lot of people know that Zoom offers all these amazing things. And so when you are looking to deploy Zoom in your organization, it's really important to be talking to someone who understands all of what Zoom can offer and how they can kind of tailor it to what you exactly need inside of that Zoom product suite. So just a little bit about the licenses themselves. First off, we've got the basic versus pro. Now, Zoom did just do a change recently with their basic licenses. Previously, as a basic user, you were able to have a one-to-one meeting for an unlimited amount of time, but one-to-many would be 40 minutes. Now, the change is that actually all of your meetings now will be that maximum of 40 minutes. So even the one-to-one will have that 40-minute restriction. So for Teresa, so she just wants to turn off subtitles. So if you have a look on your Zoom toolbar down the bottom there, you should see the live transcript option. So if you click that live transcript button, you should be able to click hide subtitle. Cool. A little bit of live troubleshooting. It's what we love. Yeah, so that was the change that Zoom just made with their basic licenses. So previous to that, a lot of people had been operating pretty comfortably with the basic license, which is that free license. But with this change, it is gonna change things quite a bit. When you do move up to that pro license, the pro license is assigned one per user. There's lots of people out there that are sharing licenses. They have generic accounts, so on and so forth. However, it's definitely not something I would recommend, one, from a security standpoint, and two, from an ease of use standpoint. So if you are sharing licenses, for instance, let's say you have Zoom at Event Elves and you share that license and that email password around, you can actually only be logged into one Zoom application at one time. So if user A logs in and wants to do a meeting, no problem. But as soon as user B logs in, user A will actually be logged out of that desktop application. So it can be quite disruptive for your general workflow. So I definitely recommend having one license per user. It's the safest way to go. It's the most secure way to go. And it just means you're not going to have any disruptions with your users logging in and out of applications. Wow, it's core of Circle. Yes. Yeah, an amazing suite of products. It's actually quite spectacular. And, you know, I've been with them, as I said, about 6 years now, and watching this grow has been spectacular. Okay, so just a couple more notes on basic versus pro. So when you do move up to that pro version, what it does mean is that you can move up then to your unlimited meetings. So 1 to 100 participants with unlimited meetings, and you can have add-ons. So an add-on in Zoom world is a webinar license. It could be a large meeting license. And these are things that you kind of tack on to your pro license that give you more functionality. Like today, we're on a webinar. A webinar add-on can only be attached to that Zoom pro license. So quite important when you're thinking about what you're actually going to be using Zoom for, and if you are going to need any of these add-ons. Moving down to webinars versus meetings, I will just really quickly cover this one. So webinars versus meetings, obviously at the moment, we're on a webinar now. So webinars are incredibly powerful for not one-way communication, but it is definitely more presentation-based. So the majority of my customers, when we are doing events, will use the webinar platform, mainly because of the fact that it's easier to control and the Q&A function. So the webinar Q&A is actually one of my favorite features of Zoom. It's just incredibly easy to operate both as an attendee and as a presenter or a moderator. And so that's the biggest kind of difference between that webinar, is that obviously you guys don't have video, you don't have audio, but you can engage with that Q&A and that chat if we turn it on. So those are the biggest differences. The other one that I will mention, which is in fact going to change soon, is the breakout room feature. So the breakout room feature is something that is also only available with meetings currently, will be available with webinars. I've been told maybe kind of Q4 this year, but to be totally honest, they have pushed it out before. So for those who don't know what breakout rooms are it's effectively smaller meetings. So let's say that you are a teacher or you're a trainer or a coach of some description, and you might have 10 people in your class. What you want to do is you might want to break those people off into smaller groups and get them to discuss a topic between themselves and then come back and report. Breakout rooms allows you as the host to separate your attendees into individual kind of private meeting rooms. So it's an incredibly powerful feature. You can really be very, very creative with it. I've had AUT use it for exams. So they have each person come into a breakout room, talk to the examiners, answer a question, and then move on to the next breakout room. So it's really about just how creative you want to be. So there's just a couple of those differences between webinars and meetings, but it's really important to understand what you're wanting out of the session and what level of engagement you're wanting out of that session. So I did touch a little bit on large meeting, but just a little bit more on the license. So a large meeting license takes you up to 500 participants. So if you're wanting a large meeting, lots and lots of people, lots of faces and lovely hellos, so on and so forth, a large meeting license can be added onto your Pro. Now, extra cloud storage as well. So cloud storage is something that Zoom has also recently just changed. They increased it from 1 gig to 5 gig per Pro user. So that's great. I think there was a lot of people struggling with managing that cloud storage. Obviously, having those cloud recordings is a very important part of keeping all of that really great stuff that you've been producing. And I'll talk a little bit more about how to kind of manage that a little bit better. But you can, if you need to, buy an extra cloud storage license. Moving on. So configuration. So this, over my last 6 years, has been the one thing that I wish more people understood, because I truly believe that this is the powerhouse of Zoom, is understanding your configuration. So how are you supposed to understand a product? How are you supposed to get the best out of a product if you don't understand how to control that product? So this is where your configuration comes in. So there's effectively two options for your configuration. One is in your application settings and one is in your portal settings. So I'm just going to quickly show you what your application settings looks like. So this is obviously my Zoom app here. What you've got is up the top. So we're on our home page, and up the top, we've got our settings. So the settings in here, this is where you really want to be getting very comfortable and understanding exactly what's happening inside of the settings. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's one too many, but I will go through a couple that I would recommend turning on because it will make your life a whole bunch easier. But as soon as we jump out of the session, jump into your settings, have a look around, see if you can make Zoom work better for you, because I can guarantee that there'll be something in there that you will benefit from turning on or off. So the first one I'm going to go through is just on the general side. So on the general setting, what we've got here is the Zoom updates. So Zoom won't manually force you to update unless there's a security patch or something, there's like a vulnerability, something like that, or a really bad bug fix. So we haven't had very many of these at all. I think there's maybe been 2 forced updates over Zoom that I can remember. But it is really important to keep up with those updates. Zoom are, really pushing for getting really exciting features out there. They really listen to feedback, and they have a pretty consistent development plan and product roadmap. So keeping your Zoom up to date is really important. And this is where you can choose to automatically keep Zoom up to date and how fast you want it. So do you want to wait for the second new update before you update your client, in which case you'd pick slow? Or as soon as an update comes out, do you want that update straight away? So the only reason why you might pick slow is that every now and then there is a bug that needs to be fixed. It won't be anything dramatic. Zoom are very, very good with their testing, but nothing's perfect. So you might want to wait for a bug fix first. Personally, I recommend slow just because Zoom are very consistent with their delivery and their quality of their delivery, but obviously up to you. So that's in that general setting. What I will then move into is your video setting. So as you can see here, it's obviously going to show you all of your video settings. This is an interesting one for a Monday morning. You want to do a little bit of touch up your appearance. It's definitely too much. Still doesn't hide the pimple though. What's that about? So touch up your appearance is quite fun. But what I would do is have a look at these ones here. So hide self view. Now this is a pretty popular topic amongst people who do a lot of video calls, is that they get distracted by themselves. Now that's not an arrogance thing. I think it's just natural that if we see ourselves on screen, our eyes naturally navigate to that point. But if you want to, you can hide that self view. It will obviously always hide that self view, so you have to come in here and turn it off if you would like to see yourself. But this can be a really powerful thing for just making sure that you stay committed to the other people on the screen and that you stay committed to the topic, rather than getting, distracted by a pimple or a hair out of place or all of those things that can distract us. So that's quite an important one to understand. Now, the next one is audio. So what I would do here is have a look down through here and have a look at your background noise suppression. So depending on what audio you have, are you using the inbuilt microphones in your laptop? Are you using AirPods? Are you using a headset? You might want to come in here, test your mic, and then adjust your suppression based on how your mic test goes. Now, this one, everyone, please turn this on. Automatically join computer audio when joining a meeting. If you have this off, and it is by default off, unfortunately, it means that every time you join a meeting, you have to join that computer audio button. So yes, it is just one button. It obviously pops up right in front of you, so you are aware of it, but it is one more thing that you have to do when you jump into a meeting. And if you click away from it or you forget to do it, so on and so forth, it can mean that you're speaking without having your mic connected. So tick this box. You won't need to worry about it, and it's just one other thing that you don't need to be concerned about. Cool. Next one is under share screen. So this one really frustrated me until Zoom brought out this functionality or this configuration option. And this is the window size when screen sharing. So the default is actually that it goes into full screen, which I despise. So I would just want Zoom to stay the exact same size, but it will scale to fit that window. So my Zoom won't go to full screen. I won't have to click escape or click exit or worry about any of those. My Zoom window will stay exactly the same size, and I can manage it normally. So that's my personal preference there, and I would recommend doing so. The other ones is jump into stats quite quickly. So this is if you want to do any troubleshooting, this is quite a good way of checking it out. So with the audio video, you can check your stats here. So your latency, your jitter, so on and so forth. It's just a nice place to troubleshoot. If you ever have any issues with Zoom and you're going to log a support ticket, good to get screenshots of this so they can actually see how your PC is running as well. Feedback. Zoom love to hear. I've personally had a little bit of flex here. I've had a couple of my feature requests answered and implemented, but Zoom will. They love hearing feedback. They're very user-centric. All they want to know is that their users are happy. So pop your feedback in. They love it. They'll listen and they might implement it. Cool. So that is your application settings. As you saw, there's a whole bunch of tabs in that. And just jump in there and have a look. Now, the other one that I will go through very quickly, and another one that people haven't really explored themselves, or that I've found, is the Zoom portal. So everyone has a Zoom portal, whether you're a basic user or a pro user. And you always want to make sure that you know where it is and you know how to navigate it. So the Zoom portal is just zoom.us, and then you sign in. Once you've signed in, you'll effectively be given your profile here. If you are an admin on your account, this is how you do things like manage your users, build your Zoom rooms, change your account settings, all of these kind of things. But what I'll do is just go over your basic user configuration options. So you've got your profile here. So this is where you can do things like set your profile picture, add your mobile number, so on and so forth. So good to know where this is and good to jump on here and check. If you have a webinar license, the Zoom portal is actually the only place you can schedule a webinar. So quite important to obviously have this bookmarked. And if you do have that webinar license and you want to start from here, but you have your settings. So once again, this is something that I'm not going to go through every single setting of, because there is, as you can see, a huge amount of settings here, just a massive amount. And I know that might seem a bit overwhelming or a little bit much, but they're all a very important part of configuring your perfect Zoom experience. Zoom is such a powerful tool. You want to make sure you understand it. So as you can see, there's quite a few tabs on here as well. So jump onto zoom.us, log in with your Zoom email and password, and then jump in here, have a look around. If you ever have any questions, this is what I do as a business. So I'm more than happy to take you through the portal and, take you through deploying your Zoom or understanding Zoom. So it'll help you because it's an incredibly powerful tool. And I just think that people need to understand it a little bit more to get as much as they can out of it and obviously make their money more worthwhile. Cool. So those are your configuration options. Now I will jump back into my wee PowerPoint presentation here. Okay, now let's go to our next slide. Which is integration. So this would be the second thing that I want people to really, really focus on when they're thinking about Zoom and how they want it to work inside of their organization or with their workflows. So make sure you understand your workflow. Automation is power. So the more that you can automate, the more that you can integrate, the easier your day is going to be. Zoom has an incredibly open integration and API kind of mindset. They understand the power of the workflow. They understand how important it is to have that workflow really set up. So I've just put here, a few of my favorite integrations. So for instance, the Slack integration. If you use Slack as your team chat, what you can do is there's a Zoom integration that allows you to start your workflow in Slack, be messaging your team or your individual user. But when you want to start a meeting, it launches a Zoom meeting with that contact. So it's not using Slack's inbuilt meeting tool, which is fine, that there's no problem with it. But Zoom is a purpose-built video solution. They are, worlds ahead of the Slack video solution in that way. And if you love Zoom, you want to utilize it more, but you're using Slack for your chat, the Slack Zoom integration will be a beautiful way for you to move that workflow from chat to video. And that's what ideal collaboration is having that chat, deciding you need to, share screen or invite someone else into that discussion, and then elevating that chat to a meeting. Next one is Google Workspace. And so, by the way, I'll pop a whole bunch of links in the chat as well, so you guys have access to the marketplace and you know where to find some more information about these. Integrations are something that I will probably recommend working with someone on if you're not that confident. This is also something that we do as deployment consultants. So if you would like any help with these integrations, please let us know. But there's also a huge amount of articles out there that you can access. Zoom have a really beautiful support center that I'll link a little bit later on. So you can definitely do it yourself. But if you need help, there are lots of people out there that can help. So that was the Slack one. Moving on to the Google Workspace one. So Google Workspace is what I use. I use Google across my business. So I use Gmail, Google Calendar. And when I'm scheduling a meeting, I'm doing directly from my Google Workspace add-in. So it means I'm in my Gmail, I click add a Zoom meeting, and it creates all of that Zoom information, all of those join links, all of those dial-in numbers into that calendar invite directly from my Google Calendar or my Gmail. So once again, that workflow is just much easier. I haven't had to jump into my Zoom app, schedule a meeting, copy a whole bunch of information and pop it in. It's starting that workflow and then continuing that workflow from that Google Workspace option. Now, the one on the left, the kind of blue Calendly logo, if you guys haven't used Calendly, it's incredible. It's effectively just an online booking software. My Calendly is connected to my website, so any user can jump onto my website, book a meeting with me. But my Calendly Zoom integration allows them to book a meeting. It will automatically schedule a Zoom meeting for me, put it in my calendar, send the Zoom invite and information to whoever booked that Calendly invite, and I haven't had to touch it. Calendly has access to my calendar, obviously, so it's only going to show those spots that are available. So I haven't done anything, and I've got a Zoom meeting and a meeting with a customer in my email and in my calendar. So that's all one of my favorite integrations is that one. So that's the Calendly and Zoom integration. Next one is Zapier. So I'm sure you've probably heard of Zapier. Zapier is an incredible third-party tool. Think of Zapier as like a little mailman taking things from point A to point B. So in my instance, with my Zoom integration, so I have Zoom and Google Drive set up, and Zapier is the middleman kind of in between that. So what Zapier does is as soon as I create a Zoom cloud recording, Zapier takes that Zoom cloud recording and puts it in a designated Google Drive folder. Then in 3 days, my Zoom cloud recordings automatically delete. So for people who are having issues with Zoom cloud recording storage constantly getting full up, the Zapier integration with Google Drive is an amazing way to fix that problem. They also have a OneDrive option as well. Zapier, the website's really easy. You pop in the tool you want to integrate with, and it will effectively allow you to browse whatever integrations they have available. So I would absolutely recommend having a look at them. As I said, it's the way I manage my cloud storage, and I would hate to do it otherwise. Manually deleting and uploading, it takes time, and I don't have time. So thinking about those workflows, automating those workflows, giving yourself time back. And the last one is Microsoft Teams. So kind of just like the Slack integration, it allows you to begin your collaboration workflow in Microsoft Teams. But then when you initiate a meeting or initiate a phone call, it's going to be using Zoom meetings and Zoom phone. So you're just kind of using the best of both worlds there. Teams is obviously a beautiful chat and collaboration platform. Microsoft is a behemoth of a collaboration suite. But then you're using kind of the ease, the ease of use, the simplicity, the reliability of the Zoom products as well. So yeah, just thinking about that workflow and that automation. Okay, so these are just a few of my favorite features. Obviously, everyone has their own favorite features, and it totally depends on what you use Zoom for. But I thought I'd just mention a couple of the ones that I really like. Sharing slides as a virtual background, which is what I'm doing now. If you can't see that, then what you probably just need to do is update your Zoom client. But I'm sharing slides as my virtual background, which is a really great way to have your presentations, but still, be kind of the focus and keep engaging and get that kind of human aspect into those PowerPoints. So that's really, really important. Direct calling from chat. So Zoom chat is something, it's probably the most underused feature of Zoom, to be totally honest. And so what this means is that you can call your chat, you can call a user or a channel directly from your chat. So as I mentioned with the Slack and the Teams, if you're having a really good conversation with someone, but you might need to share your screen or you want to record the conversation because you just want to elevate it, you want to capture that information, you don't want to write a whole bunch of notes, elevating that call from a chat, elevating that communication from a chat to a meeting is the best way to increase that engagement and increase the output of that session. So I will just very quickly show you, because once again, this is something that just a lot of people don't know how to do. So I'm on my Zoom desktop application and I want to navigate to my team chat here. So it's the second tab, and then I can jump into any of my contacts that I've got here. And I've got this little option, invite to meeting. So straight away, I'm inviting this user to a meeting. It's going to pop up on their screen. They're going to click accept, and then we're going to be away within, a few seconds, 2 seconds, and you'll be in a meeting with this person. So there's no need to schedule a meeting, send it to their calendar, wait for them to accept it, wait for them to jump in. You really want to make the most out of that kind of spontaneous, instantaneous connection. Because it's going to allow you to use your licensing more. Anything you do over an email, you can do over Zoom, and it's going to be a better experience. And who likes less emails, more emails? Nobody. So yeah, it's important to get used to that. It's important to use chat in that way. And yeah, I highly recommend it, and it's exactly how I do most of my work. Next one is Zoom apps. So if you haven't seen Zoom apps, they're kind of exciting ways to, how can I say, like use third-party tools. So let's say you want to have a Kahoot, because Kahoot's a really fun quiz. It's a really cool way to engage with your friends, or have, you know, a little team connection session on a Friday. Rather than opening Kahoot directly from, you know, your Chrome, and you're kind of managing two different things, Zoom apps allows you to open Kahoot, manage Kahoot directly from inside your Zoom meeting screen. And Kahoot is just one of the examples. Another one that we have might be a timer, so I can keep control of the meeting. Another one might be a HubSpot app. So, you know, I might be in a meeting with a customer and I want to be writing some notes. So let's just, so I'm just going to put a timer on. So you can see in the corner of my video, I've got a little timer on there. So yeah, so the timer is a really good one. The HubSpot one's a really good one. Once again, we're just thinking about that workflow. How can we automate? How can we include all of these third-party tools, all of these beautiful ways to connect with people in a singular screen? That means we do less navigating away from the meeting and more of staying connected with the people that are in the meeting. So those are just a couple of the apps. I'll pop in the chat a way to have a look at browse all the Zoom apps that are available to you. It really depends on how you want to use Zoom. But effectively what you do is you can access the apps directly from your desktop client. So if you open your desktop app, you can have a look along your top tab and you'll have an apps section there. Open that app section, have a little browse through there, but I'll also send you the website version as well, so you can have a look. Now, direct video share. Now, this is obviously only relevant if you're, yeah, thank you, Bianca. It is awesome. They're incredible. They really are. I wish more people use them, but that's okay. You can be part of the charge. So direct video share. So if you are one who is presenting a lot of content and you're doing a lot of PowerPoint presentations, or you are sharing a lot of video, use the direct video share. So rather than embedding your videos into your PowerPoint, or, you know, full screening a Windows Media Player and then sharing that desktop, use the direct video share. When you do click share in the Zoom meeting, it's under the advanced tab, just like the share sides as virtual background. But what that direct share allows you to do is it'll load that video directly. So Zoom is accessing that raw file of that video, not taking your screen. So you're going to get a lot higher quality. It's going to be a much nicer experience. And it also hides all of those, you know, the bar along the bottom, the play, the pause, all of that busyness that makes a video look slightly less professional. That's all gone when you direct share. Okay. And then the next one is post-meeting surveys. So this is post-meeting and post-webinar surveys. So if you have let's say you're doing a client meeting, and at the end of that client meeting, you would love those users to say how the meeting was, or maybe it's an event and you want to know how much they enjoyed it. Do they think it should be longer? Do they think it should be shorter? What was their favorite speaker? All of that kind of great feedback. You can launch a post-meeting or post-webinar survey. So what that means is that as soon as a user ends their session, so they leave that meeting, or if you as the host end that meeting or webinar, a survey shows up straight away for them. So it's not something you send them later. It's not a SurveyMonkey link that they probably won't click on. It's as soon as they've left the session, they've got the survey right then and there. I would recommend having, you know, not too many questions, but the survey will be right then and there, and then they'll answer it. You get the email results straight away. You get the results straight away in your reports in your Zoom portal. And yeah, you've got that feedback straight away. So it's an inbuilt Zoom feature. It's available when you are scheduling meetings or webinars on the portal. So good to know that you have to kind of go to the portal to access this. I mean, it's kind of like an advanced feature, I suppose. It's not something that you'd use for every meeting, but it is great for the ones where you obviously really value that feedback for future kind of sessions. So I definitely recommend thinking about how you can potentially use those, because yeah, the more feedback you get from people, the better. Breakout rooms, I have kind of already spoken about breakout rooms previously, but they are amazing. You can be so creative with them. You can do quiz groups in them. You can use them to have little private discussions with people. You can just have, yeah, I mean, there's thousands of different ways that you can use breakout rooms, and they truly are amazing. Slide control. So this is a big one for people like me who are facilitating a lot of events. So when I run an event, I manage all of that content. So all of the speaker presentations, anything that's shared throughout that event, I manage. It just makes it easier for people. But rather than everyone saying, next slide, please, move on, please, next, please, which can get a bit monotonous, I just use Zoom slide control. So once I have shared the presentation, I then have my Zoom toolbar, I click slide control, and I can give slide control to any of those other participants on that call. Slide control for them just has two little arrows pop up on their screen, so they are managing the slides. So I've shared the presentation, I've done the hard, somewhat stressful bit, and all they are doing is navigating next, 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 next. So it's a really, really nice mix of control and usability. I was waiting for this for so long. They mentioned it at Zoomtopia a few years ago, but it came out maybe a year ago now, and I just use it constantly. It's my best friend. It makes my events just run so much smoother, and that's why I'm here. So yeah, really, really happy with that one. Next is webinar Q&A. So the Q&A, as you can see here, is just so powerful. I think it's the easiest to use Q&A that I've seen on a webinar platform. They are definitely getting better, but Zoom have made it really, really nice and easy with their Q&A. And I'm not sure if it's turned on for this one. So it's not actually turned on for this one, but what you can turn on for Zoom Q&A is the ability for attendees to upvote questions. So this is really good to reduce the reduce the risk of getting double up questions. So if you as attendees can see all of the questions, instead of popping in one that seems similar, I might upvote a question, which for the hosts and the panelists who are managing that Q&A, any questions with more upvotes will actually appear at the top of that list. So as a host, I know that the most popular questions are going to be at the top. So they're the ones I should address first, because obviously more people want that answered. And so that's how you can approach that Q&A. So the upvoting is a really, really powerful feature, and webinar Q&A in general is just an incredible way to manage that engagement. Much cleaner than people just unmuting your microphones, so on and so forth, and really easy to manage. So if you haven't used webinar Q&A or just webinars in general, it is just such a beautiful way to engage with your audience. And yeah, I'd highly recommend it. And that's my favorite features. I think I have maybe like 1,000 favorite features. I do love Zoom, if you can't tell. But yeah, so this is just a few.
No, this has been really cool because there's so much in here that I'm not aware of. And now I'm like, where's this? Where is that? And we do have some questions here. And I don't know if that was you or what, but I want to make sure we get to those. Did you have more you wanted to add before we went into the Q&A, or?
So I just have one.
You, and then we'll go into that.
Yeah, perfect. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Okay, so my last slides are just about support. So as I've said here, Zoom is easy to use, but not easy to master. I've been deploying Zoom for years, and Zoom has a strange disadvantage where it's almost too easy. So people think they know how to use it and they're using it in the right way, which a lot of the time you might be. But I can guarantee that if you speak to someone who knows, if you speak to someone who's seen best practice and seen worst practice, there will be better ways for you to integrate Zoom with your workflows. There will be better ways to train your users on Zoom. And it's just really about understanding the product in a depth that allows you to pick apart all the bits that you want and then apply that to your workflows in your organization to just get the best out of it. And so here's a few ways to do that. So the Zoom support page is amazing. Pop in a keyword, it'll bring up a whole bunch of stuff. So I'll pop all these links in here. The release notes, I'm a little bit crazy and I check like every day because I like to keep up to date with Zoom. But the release notes is a really important part to stay up to date. And then the Zoom download center. So just if you ever need to download the desktop client again, you've got that download center. As far as your applications, I would definitely recommend you have the Zoom application on your desktop, your laptop, whatever your main PC is. I have the Zoom app on my phone, which works really, really well when I'm out and about. And yeah, so those are 3 sites. As I said, I'll pop them in the chat for you along with a couple of others. But yeah, get that support, reach out if you need. I'm always super happy to chat. I obviously love talking about Zoom, so always happy to chat. This is what my business does. This is what we love to do. And yeah, so please Yeah, please just ask away. Cool. We have a couple of questions in here. So Anamari, do you want me to just go into those questions straight away?
Yeah, so there are a few questions. I've asked for some clarity on some of the questions, so you might end up skipping over some.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say the first one is how do you get it, like if you're wanting more people to attend your events, like how would you suggest doing that? And I guess that's on Zoom for a Zoom event. Do you use features in Zoom to do that, or?
Well, so I mean, that's more of a marketing question, right? If you're wanting to get people to attend any event, be it on Zoom or in person, it's all about how you market that event. For instance, if you're using Zoom events, what I do with my customers is we do kind of a little launch video on Zoom events, a little snippet of the features, and here's what you can do, and here's how exciting it's going to be when you're in the Zoom events platform. So it's about building up that hype. Also really important if you are regularly doing events, create little highlight reels from your recordings, and then you can share them so people know what to expect. So get that marketing out. I always recommend minimum of 4 weeks before your event to do that marketing. But get those highlight reels, get as much kind of information about the event out, and just try and excite people about those events. But also, you really need to take into account what time you're doing these events, what day you're doing these events, and all of your general kind of event planning things. There's lots of things that go into a successful virtual event. Yeah.
That's right. And I would say, Jack, if you need a little bit more help, contact support at digitalboost.co.nz, and we'll help you plan that out, because you'll do like a little bit of awareness and then a little bit of it, there's lots in there. We're happy to help you out. Another question here is kind of why would you use Zoom Pro versus Zoom Business versus Zoom Classroom?
Yeah. So Zoom Pro is an individual account. Zoom Business is your kind of overarching account. So if you have a business, and keeping in mind that Zoom Business has a minimum of 10 licenses, so you would need to have at least 10 Zoom users in your organization to qualify for Zoom Business, then Zoom Business is a great idea. You get access to the APIs with Zoom. It's just a little bit a bigger of a deployment, but you do get a lot of payoff from that. But as I said, you do need kind of that minimum of 10 business licenses. Now, those business licenses are effectively still pro users, but they're under a business heading, so they get a few more of those business features. So yes, they're still pro users, just under a slightly different heading. So if it's just you that you're looking at purchasing a Zoom license for, then you would just go with that Zoom Pro license. Now the Zoom for Classroom, so it's actually Zoom for Education. So that's an education plan. So the tiers for this are quite high, and it really is for your schools, your universities, your large organizations who are using Zoom in that education space. And it's more of a 0 to 1,000 licenses, you get this price, 1,000 to 3,000, you get this price. So it really is that large base licensing. So if it's just you or even a couple of people, individual pro licenses, but under the one account is the best way to do it.
Okay, cool. And I just want to clarify, there was a question about using like the apps feature, and I just had a quick look, and so they wanted to know how you actually use the apps, and I want to make sure that I've given the right answer. So I said, you just click on that apps little feature there, and I'm sure you can do it in your settings maybe, and then find the app that you want, and it looks like you select the app and then approve by using the toggle, so that little switch thing and turning it on. Is that correct, or is there more to it?
Yep. So keep in mind these apps are third-party programs, so like Kahoot or HubSpot. So you will need an account with that third party. So what I would recommend doing is jumping onto the apps on your Zoom desktop client first. So having a look at the tab on your desktop client and looking in that Discover tab, having a look at all of the apps and what they do. And Zoom will kind of walk you through the process, but you will need that account or that license. I mean, most of them are reasonably free, depending on what you need to do inside of that app. But you will need at least an account with that third party. So have a look on the apps to begin with, figure out which ones you're interested in. Zoom will walk you through that process. And then once you've set up that app, that's when you're in the meeting, you click on your apps and you launch your app. So you do all the hard work to begin with, like with anything, you set it up, you configure it, you make sure you're good to go. And then when you want to access the app, you do that from in meeting.
Perfect. I did want to comment when you were talking about Zapier and using Zapier. Zapier has a number, you can have a number of free zaps, where you don't have to pay for a subscription. So if it was something that you were interested in, that was when Sammy was talking about the cloud recording and having Zoom connect automatically to your drive so that it would save through and not take up space, because I know that that's something that we have here. Zapier can connect to many of your apps to streamline your work, and you can have a number of those zaps, those connections between apps for free. And we've done sessions on Zapier, so you can check that out on the Digital Boost website if you're interested in it. And if you need help, just ask support. We did have some questions come through from Facebook, and then we've got some more in the Q&A section, so we'll hit those up. So we had a question here from Facebook just saying, for slide control, does that only affect the room they're in?
So if you're talking about a Zoom room, so you can't use slide control from a Zoom room. It does have to be an individual user. So if you're wanting to target someone who is sitting in a Zoom room, then that person will just have to have their own device with them and joining the meeting. So yeah, you give them slide control, they navigate through those slides, and obviously you're sharing the slides, so it'll navigate along for everyone else on that call.
Okay, cool. And I have a question about your background, how you set that up by having your slides be your full background. Obviously, I use the virtual background for my branding for the meeting, but how are you switching through your slides? Because each one of these is loaded separately,
Yes,
so
correct.
I'm just wondering how that works.
So if you click on your share screen icon and you head into the advanced section, there's a button directly top left that says slides as virtual background.
Okay.
And so,
very cool.
So
I can see that there.
Yeah. So you click on that and then ask you to load the file directly. So it'll open kind of your file organizer, and then you access the PowerPoint directly from there. And just keep in mind, if there's anything that I've mentioned that doesn't quite look the same for you, need to jump on that configuration, because it might just be turned off by default or in a different way by default. So that's why understanding your portal and understanding your settings is so important, because you might not have slides as virtual background because it's turned off, but that doesn't mean you don't have access to it. Just means that it's not on at the moment. So get really comfortable with that portal.
Yeah, and that's a really cool feature. I think if you're recording videos of yourself, like talking about certain things, it just pops you in that little part in the bottom. It's really now on social media as well, like people just talking where they're like evaluating video. You could use it in so many ways. I think that's really cool. Now, you mentioned the survey, and there was a question that came through here. Is this survey for free in Zoom that you were talking about that kicks out on the back end? Is that a free option that you have?
So the post-meeting surveys. So I believe that's just a pro feature. I'm just jumping and checking now. So it looks like it's part of the basic functionality as well. So yes, as far as I can see, it's basic and pro.
Okay, cool.
But and just remember that's done from the portal. So if you want to enable that post-meeting survey, you have to schedule your meeting from the Zoom portal.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. How many people are able to attend webinars and the pro license?
Yeah, sure. So the pro license is 100 effectively, so including yourself. So I, as the host, can have 99 participants. When you buy a webinar license, the webinar licenses start at 500. So you buy the 500 add-on. That means you can have 500 people in that webinar. So it doesn't stack just, because you have 100 in pro and 500 a webinar, it doesn't mean you have 600. You buy the webinar 500 license, and then you have 500 people. That's like 499 people. There are extra licenses. It goes up, I think it goes 1,000, then 3,000, then all the way up to 10,000. So there's heaps of different options, but the first one starts at 500.
Okay, cool. Another question here from Wendy. If you've recorded, how do you send it to people who would like a copy to view again?
Yeah, definitely. So once again, on that portal. So as soon as you finish your cloud recording, if it's a cloud recording that you're talking about, it will be stored in your Zoom portal. So on the left-hand side, you navigate to your recordings tab. It'll show you all of your recordings that you have, and there's a share button. So that share button will allow you to copy that link, and then you just paste that link to whomever, and they'll be able to view that recording. If you are a basic user, which means that you can only locally record, it will just be a raw file on your desktop. So you'd need to use a third party to send that, like a OneDrive or a, Google Drive, because it is just a video file. So it's definitely one of the, the biggest pros of the Zoom Pro account is you've got access to that cloud recording. But yeah, there's a couple of options either way.
Yeah, and I would recommend WeTransfer as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's definitely options out there.
Yeah. So we use WeTransfer for a lot of our prerequisite materials that we send out, and it's a great feature there that's totally free. Another question here is where you use direct video share. Oh, direct video share.
Yeah.
Do you mean, Wendy, do you mean like when you want to share a video while you're running a meeting, or do you mean, were you talking about that video after the recording, like you're recording? Maybe if you could just clarify that would be great.
So I think she's talking about the direct video share video, and it's also under the advanced section. So jump into share screen, hit that advanced tab, and it's on the far right side. It's just video. So you click video, click share, and then it'll jump into your file organizer again and ask you what video you want to share.
And make sure you click that. Do you recommend using that, clicking that button, sharing audio, video, sound, and so it's got that extra feature. Some people come on here and it's like the downfall is them not clicking the share sound and optimize for a video clip.
So when you use direct video, those two are automatically ticked, which is great. Okay. So you don't need to worry about it.
Very cool. Because a lot of times our guys come on and it's embedded in their slides.
Yes, and it's a bit
part of the same. So that's not the same thing, right? Because they're already in slides. They would have to go out and go back in, share the video directly. Okay. I've
just seen a couple from here in the chat.
Yeah.
So one of them, Tanya, I'm happy to talk more because I didn't really cover this. So this is a Zoom room. So Tanya wants to know, I need to know more about digital signage on TV screen in a conference room and home office private space. So I will just quickly touch on that. So digital signage licensing comes free with a Zoom room licensing. Digital signage can be a TV in your reception. It could be your TV in your house, or it could be digital signage in your meeting room when it's not being used. So if you're wanting to use digital signage outside of a meeting room, so it's not already a meeting room, you just need a very small PC. So think like a PC stick, they're about, $200. So you load that PC stick with the Zoom application, plug that into your TV. You set up a digital signage room only on the Zoom portal, and then you can log in that digital signage room only, and then obviously update your content. So what this allows people to do, if you have a TV in your reception, you can have a slideshow of images, you can have a web page, you can have videos, you can have a whole bunch of content with that digital signage, and that all comes free with the Zoom room. So happy to talk to you further about that, Tanya, if you like, but it's basically a mix of a little bit of hardware and then setting that configuration up on the portal.
Okay, and I'm just jumping for slideshows that only affect the room. We got that.
And then there's another one from Tanya.
Can you target every person individually? But there's no context. Oh, okay. No, I think we got that one. I'm just on Facebook. Sorry.
Okay, cool. That's fine. So another one from Tanya. It's hard to pick too many Zoom and all the apps in mobile or computer. Which best is Zoom update or download? So you always want the Zoom application on your device. So when you jump onto the Zoom download page, which I linked just before, there's the Zoom client for meetings. So that's the application you want. And then you just want to keep that application updated. So if you want the Zoom app on your phone, that's fine. You can get that Zoom app on your phone. But if it's your own personal PC computer, you want that Zoom client for meetings. There are a few other things on that download page, but they're not relevant for a personal user on their personal device. Things like the Zoom room, conference app, and all those kind of things. The only one you need to worry about is that Zoom client for business. And if you want to, jump on the App Store or the Google Play Store and download it on your phone if you want that functionality from your phone. But there's really no, if it won't give you value, don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. No, that's great. I think we've got through it. We managed to get through all those questions. I think we're good on Facebook. I see you there, Sam and Sun. And so if you have more questions, they had heaps of comments and stuff. And thank you so much for popping through all those things. But I pulled those questions through. We're good on LinkedIn, and I'll just have another quick check of YouTube, and we seem to be good there too.
So
Okay.
there's just one last question from Judy. So Judy asks, what's the best way to get email addresses of people attending webinars? So this is also something that Zoom has but just changed. So previously, anyone who jumped on a webinar, you would be able to see their email because you have to put in that email when you join a webinar. However, Zoom has now removed that as kind of a security privacy improvement. So what you need to do is set up registration, unfortunately. So if you want the emails for anyone who attends your meeting or your webinar, you have to set up that registration. Registration is a really great thing to do anyway. It is really simple. And it does mean that you can have a little bit of branding and make it a little bit of a nicer experience for your attendees at that visual forefront of your event. So registration is good. I definitely recommend it. And it does mean you capture all of that information. Registration is also a great opportunity if you want to get people to tick a box to agree to marketing consent, for instance. So if you want to email them newsletters and things afterwards, then using that registration page to gather that agreement is a great way to do that as well.
I've got a question for you with meetings. Is say like on here, we've got panelists, and you can send them an individual invite that allows them to kind of get in before where they just automatically come in. But it seems like in a meeting, once you set up that registration, there's no way for them to not get in other than the link that, everybody else has to get in on.
Yeah, so what I do when I'm doing meetings is there is a tick option when you're setting up a meeting, and it says allow people to join at any time. So I always turn it off so people can't join before I've started. But then with meetings, I always just manage with a waiting room. So everyone jumps into a waiting room and then I let those speakers in. So you're right, webinar has practice session, which is perfect. But meetings, because it's a little bit more of an open collaboration scenario, they do just have that waiting room. That's effectively how you can manage that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I was just like, because our panelists, they can jump in and you don't have to let them in. They just come in. And that allows me just to keep working while I'm waiting, I just wanted that little bit more extra time where I don't have to be watching the participants thing the whole time. But that's okay.
Waiting room's the way to go.
Yeah, maybe they'll update that. I'm going to put that as my feedback to Zoom, is that you should still be able to have co-hosts get specific links for meetings as well, so they don't have to go through that registration process. No, this has been absolutely fantastic. Sammy, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Boost. Folks, I hope you got lots of value out of this. You can find Sammy Mellor at Event Elves. And so please get in contact with them if you need some help with your events, or you want to update your system or something like that, or get a little bit more involved in Zoom and how you can utilize it for your business. Lots of businesses could utilize this in very different ways. So just some comments here. This was so informative. I thought I was a Zoom pro, still got a bit to go. I mean, I don't consider myself a Zoom pro, but there's just some features here that I just think look so cool. Even just that basic having your presentation behind you while you were still there, it just felt like really interactive, and it felt a little bit less, old school. It just put it into more now. And I think that felt really fresh. I actually had a guy come on here and he manages to put a banner down in front of him with a QR code, so you can automatically and he uses
that's using OBS. So OBS is amazing. OBS it's I wouldn't say it's advanced, but it's definitely something additional to learn. It's quite a big behemoth in itself. But if you're ever interested in, if you want to do a lot of presentations, or if you're wanting to do a lot of just video content in general, using OBS is incredible. You can have whatever you want up there. You can have Zoom chats popping up in the corner of your screen. You can have your, as you said, QR code, or just your name, or anything you want, really. You can design your screen, and then you have that screen coming through as your camera on Zoom. So it's a beautiful, amazing bit of software. A little bit technical, but definitely give it a go if you're feeling confident and you want to jazz it up. Go the OBS route.
So OBS, is that an acronym for something, or that's just
open broadcast software?
Okay, all right, and that's within Zoom. It's an app.
No. So it's a third-party program. So it's what video production users use.
Oh, okay. He did it through Zoom. Is that not?
So what you do, you launch kind of a virtual camera. So you set up your screen, pop your things wherever you want, and then you launch a virtual camera, and Zoom sees it as a camera. So Zoom sees OBS virtual camera, and then it loads everything.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, that is a whole nother
That's a whole webinar.
Absolutely. Look, I know you've got a massive day today. I don't want to keep you any longer as we're pretty much out of time. So thanks guys so much for joining us here. Join us on Thursday for our workshop that we have going on. Looking forward to that. And Sammy, have a wonderful day. And thanks for educating us here on Digital Boost.
Thank you guys so much. It was so lovely to have you and speak to you. So thank you so much. And yeah, get in touch if you have any questions.
Yeah, please do get in touch with Sammy. She's obviously, an expert level.